Welcome to Jason's Jewels, the best sports show you've never heard of. I am your host, Jason Alexander. And today we're going to talk a little college football. I got a brief NASCAR update for you. And then we're going to spend a lot of time on the NFL where we will recap some of the action, well, most of the action from week 3 that took place this past weekend. But first, college football is on deck. And okay, so if you've been paying attention or watching any of my shows, you'll know that I've always said that I'm a college football casual. Well, in 2025, that has actually changed a little bit for the better, I should say. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm a casual anymore, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a college football professional either. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get no Kirk Herbstreit type information from me. But at the same time, I'll break down what I see in college football and break down what I like, what I don't like. And, we'll see how it all plays out. But at the end of the day, I'm here just talking sports for your entertainment. And right now, college football is high on that list for me. So why am I liking college football all of a sudden? Well, part of it has to do with the resurgence of the Florida State Seminoles. Yes, that's right. Florida State football is back, baby. And I couldn't be happier. I've been watching Florida State for a very, very long time. So last year was a pretty rough year for those of us who are familiar with Florida State football, who like Florida State football, who know Florida State football. And last year was not Florida State football. It was pretty damn bad. So this year, there were very low expectations coming into the Florida State season, well, my part anyway. So when they played Alabama in that first week and beat Alabama the way they did, I was like, well, maybe things are different. Here we are, 3-4 weeks later. Florida State is still undefeated. Now, they're headed to Virginia this weekend for a big matchup, and they are 6.5-point favorites. But at the same time, they must win this game in order to set up the dream matchup that we have, and that is the matchup between Florida State and the Miami Hurricanes. Now, the Miami Hurricanes, that's another reason why I'm kind of into college football a little bit more this year. Now, I've never been a Miami fan. I can't claim to be a Miami fan. Shout out to my boy Mitchell Dunn, Miami Hurricanes, class of 92, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Yes, sir. Hey, shout out to my boy Mitchell, though. He's a Hurricane for life. So I'm always going to have a little bit of love for the Hurricanes because of my boy Mitchell Dunn. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is Miami Hurricanes are playing some damn good football right now. And Florida State and Miami are setting up on a collision course to battle it out for the ACC. And that game will happen not this weekend, but next weekend. But first up for Florida State, they got to beat Virginia on the road this week before we can even consider how good this Florida State-Miami matchup might be. So I'm going to quit talking about Miami and Florida State. For now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about everything else that's going on in the college football world. And one of the things that I noticed last weekend, I watched a game I normally wouldn't have watched in the past, and that was the Texas Tech-Utah game. Now, I was watching that game because in my college football pick'em contest at work, another reason why I'm highly into college football this year, I had Utah winning that game. And I had Utah winning that game with a lot of confidence, I should say. They were pretty high on my list of teams that I thought was going to win that game. So when they lost that game, it was a little disappointing. But I will say this, watching Texas Tech play, this ain't the same Texas Tech team that we're accustomed to seeing. Back in the day, Texas Tech would throw the ball all over the place. Pretty sure Patrick Mahomes went to school there and was throwing the ball all over the place when he was there. They were never no good when he was there. That's neither here nor there. But the point I'm trying to make is that Texas Tech is playing elite. Are they playing elite level football right now? Because one thing we can say about Utah is you don't just go into Utah and beat Utah. And Texas Tech didn't just go into Utah and beat Utah. They went in there and they played with Utah toe-to-toe, matched them. They looked like the better team. And then in the fourth quarter, their starting quarterback, what's his name? Baron Morton. Yes, starting quarterback for Texas Tech. Baron Morton went down with the injury, left the game. Texas Tech inserts Will Hammond in the game, true freshman Will Hammond. And next thing you know, they've rattled off 21 unanswered points so they could carry on to a 34-10 victory against Utah in Utah. Again, I'm going to repeat, nobody just goes into Utah and beats Utah. Beating Utah in Utah is one of the harder things to do in college football. And Texas Tech did it and did it with ease, even when they put that backup quarterback in there. Now, Will Hammond, let's talk about Will Hammond for a little bit. He came in the game and he was instantly And when I say instantly, I mean instantly the best player on the field. And it was easy to see. The kid was throwing darts all over the place. He even ran 8 times for 61 yards. Now, because he came in the game so late, he's not going to have 200-300 yards passing. But when I say this kid was throwing dimes all over the place, the kid was throwing dimes, man. And one of the things they said in the broadcast that caught my attention was that Barry Morton was injured during the preseason for college football. I know they really don't have training camp like the NFL does, but they still have their practices and all that. And Barry Morton missed a lot of time. So Will Hammond actually spent a lot of time in practice playing with the first team offense. So when he came in the game, it was smooth sailing for that man. You know what I'm saying? So that's a name to remember going forward. I don't know if he's going to get a chance to play again. I don't know how serious Barry Morton was injured. So I don't know if Will Hammond is going to be playing this weekend or not. I apologize for not having that info. I just hadn't looked it up because I've been focusing on the NFL, if I'm going to be honest. But Will Hammond, remember that name. Texas Tech quarterback, at least he's at Texas Tech right now anyway, I should say. Barry Morton is a senior. So Will Hammond, at the very least, will be taking over the reins of that team next year. And when they do, when he does, I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, you heard it here first. Will Hammond, the kid is a player. But anyway, back to Miami. Now, Miami played Florida this past weekend in a game that was closer than the score shows. The final score was 26-7. And when I turned it on, it was 13-7 Miami with about 4.5 minutes left in the game. Miami scored 2 touchdowns late in the game to put the game out of reach. But again, this score was a lot closer than this game was a lot closer than the score indicates. And I think that's one thing we should all keep in mind. I know Florida is 1-3 right now, but they do have a really good roster. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. Pay attention to Florida, folks, because they are 1-3. They're getting ready to start playing a lot more SEC teams. And I think they're probably there's a chance they might be a problem for some of these SEC teams out here because I don't think they're going to be as easy and out as people think. But that doesn't mean their coach won't get fired at the end of the year. It just means I think they're going to be pretty competitive and that they're not as bad as their record indicates. As somebody who's always rooted for Florida State in the past, it pains me to say that about Florida. But, hey, I'm going to keep it real. And that's one thing I'm always going to do is keep it real. Even if I'm talking about a team I don't like, a team that's a rival from a team that I root for or appreciate, I'm going to keep it real. And if they did good, I'm going to say they did good. And right now, Miami's doing real good, and Florida's not as bad as they seem. Keep that in mind as the season goes on. And, again, maybe we can get that Miami-Florida State game that we want. But Florida State has to take care of business against Virginia first. So keep that in mind. Florida State beat Virginia, give us the game that we need. Now, there's a good weekend of games coming up this Saturday. When I say a good weekend of games, I mean the best weekend of games we've had so far. Here are the top 25 teams' games that are going to be playing this week. I've already mentioned Florida State taking on Virginia at Virginia. You got number 24 TCU at Arizona State. You got 25 ranked BYU at Colorado. You got number 21 USC at number 23 Illinois. Number 4 LSU at Ole Miss. Number 13 Ole Miss, I should say at that. And last I saw, if I'm not mistaken, LSU's linebacker is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. And if you don't know who Lane Kiffin is, he's the coach for Ole Miss. So things just got real personal in the LSU Ole Miss game. And truthfully, Ole Miss is favored, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I think LSU might win that game, but it's a road game in the SEC. So, hey, who knows what might happen? All I know is that should be a good game, and I'm glad that one's on the docket for this weekend. You also got Auburn at number 9, Texas A&M. Number 6, Oregon takes on number 3, Penn State at Penn State. Number 17, Alabama at Georgia. At number 5, Georgia at that. And usually this is a game where these two teams are both ranked in the top 5 or something of that nature, but anybody who's been following college football knows Florida State put that beat down on Alabama, and Alabama, they're still recovering from that. And that's why they're number 17. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do against Georgia. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Alabama, but when you don't have faith in Alabama is when they come through. And truthfully, I ain't got a whole lot of faith in Georgia, although they did look good against Tennessee. They finished that game off properly. Should have lost that game, but they finished it off properly. So who knows what might happen in that game. We also have number 11, Indiana at Iowa, number 15, Tennessee at Mississippi State, and we also have Arizona at number 14, Iowa State, which should also be a good game. Now, before I finish talking about college football, I got to give a shout out to number 18, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, I see you. I see you. We're finally getting to those matchups in conference play that we want to see. And I'm going to be very interested to see how the Vanderbilt Commodores carry on throughout the SEC the rest of the year, because Vanderbilt has been a very surprising team. They ain't no punks, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play this out, because they could be a big time spoiler in the SEC, a team no one talks about. I think that there's a ton of parity in college football nowadays because of the NIL and because of the transfer portal. So if you see somebody like Vanderbilt and Texas Tech making the playoffs and playing in the first round of the playoffs, don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. And let me tell you, you can tell folks you heard it on Jason's Jewels first. But anyway, that's all I got for college football. So before I get into the NFL, I do want to give a brief NASCAR update for the NASCAR fans out there, because I am a huge NASCAR fan, just like the rest of y'all out there who might be watching this video that are NASCAR fans. And if you don't know, if you can't tell, if you ain't noticed, I'm a huge Bubba Wallace fan. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. In NASCAR this weekend, they just finished the race in New Hampshire, and Ryan Blaney emerged victorious out of that race. And I can't front. Ryan Blaney did good. The Penske cars look good. And I'm glad to see Ryan Blaney pull out that win. He's Bubba Wallace's best friend. So I'm always going to have love for Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is that man. He's won the championship, not last year, but the year before. So that man has definitely got it on his mind to finish this season with another championship. And if there's anybody who's good enough to do it, we know Ryan Blaney is. And again, I'll be rooting for Ryan Blaney. I got nothing but love for Ryan Blaney. So if my boy Bubba can't pull it off, I definitely want to see Ryan Blaney pull it off. And with this win at New Hampshire last weekend, Ryan Blaney is now in the driver's seat. He's moving on to the next round of round of 8 of the playoffs, and he's setting himself up nicely. I'm telling you, Ryan Blaney, keep an eye on him, ladies and gentlemen. So before I finish the NASCAR, I do want to give a standings update on where we sit. And right now, Ryan Blaney is sitting in first place. William Byron is sitting in second place. He is 2 points out of first place. Kyle Larson is in third place. He is 8 points out of first place. After Kyle Larson, we got Christopher Bell. He is currently 20 points out of first place. Denny Hamlin is sitting in fifth place. He is 22 points out of first place. Joey Logano sitting in sixth place, 25 points out of first place. Chase Elliott, NASCAR's favorite, sitting in seventh place, 35 points out of first place. Chase Briscoe, this man has been qualifying like a speed demon all year long. Shout out to Chase Briscoe. Nobody saw that coming. The way you're dominating qualifying is something to behold. He is sitting in eighth place. He is 37 points out of first place. Ninth place belongs to Ross Chastain, and he is 49 points out of first place. Austin Cindric is sitting in 10th place, and he is 56 points out of first place. Tyler Reddick is sitting in 11th place. He is 60 points out of first place. And to finish up the round of 12, my boy, Bubba Wallace, in the 12th position, and he's 64 points out of first place. So a quick explanation for the NASCAR playoffs. Right now, they're currently in the round of 12. They were previously in the round of 16 before drivers have been eliminated. In the round of 12, they have 3 more races to go to complete the round of 12. And after those 3 races are completed, 4 more drivers will be eliminated. Now, then they'll go to the round of 8. After the round of 8, 4 more drivers will be eliminated after a couple of races. And then the final race will be the championship race in Phoenix, where the final 4 drivers will battle it out for the NASCAR championship. Now, I'm not one to complain about NASCAR. You will hear a lot of folks complaining about NASCAR, and they complain about the car, they complain about the playoff setup, they complain about the drivers. Frankly, there's a lot of NASCAR fans out there who, in my opinion, seem to hate NASCAR. Me, I still like NASCAR. I really don't give a shit what the scoring system is. Just explain it to me so I can follow it, and I'm all good over here. So I have no complaints about how it's played out, how it's going to play out, and what's going on. I really don't care if they go back to the old cup system. I really don't, or the old system where they counted the championship points and there was no playoffs. If they want to go back to that, that's fine. I think that's kind of boring and stale myself, but if they do, that's fine. Just let me know how I can follow along, and I will follow along. Now, before I end up on NASCAR, I do want to say this. This week, the race is at Kansas, and Kansas is going to be a really good race because one thing these cars can do, and I'm not going to sit here and act like the next gen car is a great car, but one thing these cars do is give you good races on the intermediate tracks, the 1.5 mile tracks. I expect a damn good race this weekend in Kansas. So if you are a NASCAR fan, get rid of all that disgruntled shit you got going on and tune into the race this weekend because it will be a good race. Now, the bottom four of the playoffs will be mathematically eliminated and will most likely need a win in the next three races to advance to the next round. Now, things can change quickly once they get into a race. So I don't want to sit here and act like the four guys that I mentioned, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick. Those are your four bottom drivers. I'm not going to act like that none of those guys can make it to the next round. However, mathematically, they're behind the eight ball. And it's very important that they win one of these races in these last three races or these next three races in order to make it to the next round of the playoffs. And truthfully, if I'm going to be honest, I like my boy Bubba this weekend. I like my boy Bubba in Kansas this weekend. And I'll tell you why. Kansas is where Bubba got one of his first wins in NASCAR. He's only got 3 wins: Talladega, Kansas, Indianapolis. Indianapolis came this year. Kansas is a track that he has historically done good at. So if my man can have a nice car, have a good Saturday, qualify properly on Saturday, then man, look out on Sunday. And that's all I'm going to say about that. You go, Bubba Wallace. Do the damn thing. Now, on to the NFL. And before we get into the NFL, the first thing I'm going to do is do the one thing I know y'all probably can't stand, and that's give you an update on my fantasy football team. And truthfully, if I'm being honest, I really hadn't even told y'all a lot about my fantasy football team. I've given y'all updates, but I haven't told y'all a lot about my team. So let's begin. First up, starters. I don't think I've said the name of my team. And the name of my team is the Colin Kaepernickers. And that's how long I've been playing in this league. Ever since Colin Kaepernick took that knee, I renamed this team the Colin Kaepernickers, and we've been balling out ever since. Now, granted, I've only finished in the money once or twice, but it's neither here nor there. I'm always competitive. I'm always in the playoffs, and I'm always in the running. I just need to finish. I'm like the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Can't win the big games. Anyway, team name is the Colin Kaepernickers. The league name is the Dirty South Dozen. Obviously, it's a 12-team league. And the commissioner is my boy, Randy Ramey. Shout out to Bowling Green, class of 92. It's 2 shout-outs for the class of 92 in less than 30 minutes. Shit, we are on fire today. Class of 92 Bowling Green, shout out. But anyway, the Colin Kaepernickers are now 2-1 on the year after defeating the Helicopter Kicks to 94. Now, one thing I want to say about my team, they still have yet to play to their full potential. But when they play to their full potential, it's going to be on. It's going to be on like Donkey Kong. We're going to go through everybody. I'm going to win the skins, and I'm going to win the money. Period, point blank. But last week, how did it play out for us last week? Shout out to Jalen Hurts. He's not on my team, but he finally remembered that A.J. Brown is on his team. A.J. Brown was my leading scorer last week. Now, the first 2 weeks, A.J. was my lowest scorer out of my starters. This week, A.J. was my highest scorer. And those are the type of weeks that I expect from my boy A.J. Brown. But we can't get those weeks if Jalen Hurts is not throwing the ball. So throw the ball, Jalen. Throw the ball. But anyway, my running backs, Devin Achane and Bijan Robinson. Subpar weeks, and yet we still pulled out the victory. So again, another quick update for the fantasy football update that I know y'all don't care about, but I still had to let y'all know that my team's still going strong, still got a lot of potential, and we move on to week 4 with a 2-1 record. Let's go. On to the real games of the NFL. And before I jump into these games, I'm gonna say I had six games on the docket that I wanted to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about the rest of the games. I'll go through the schedule and give quick thoughts on the games, on each game. Some games I probably might have 1 or 2 words. You know what I'm saying? Carolina and Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Is there really anything to talk about there? But You know what I'm saying? You get my drift. So the first game we're going to talk about is the Bills versus the Dolphins, Thursday night football last week. This game was an 11.5-point spread favoring the Bills. The final score was 31-21. The Dolphins covered. The Bills won the game, but they did not cover the spread. The Dolphins were the ones that actually covered. Now, to get into this game, Tua, he looked like Tua. Decent in some spurts, but overall, he really just was not that good. I will say this, though. He played a lot better than he has been playing. And while that ain't saying a whole lot, it's still progress. So I guess we shouldn't be mad at progress. You understand what I'm saying? Josh Allen, though, he's playing some damn good football as the media golden boy continues to do no wrong. Now, that's not to say he isn't deserving of being the media golden boy, but we get it. We get it. Josh Allen is really good, and we should appreciate what we're watching, what we are seeing when this man takes the field. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel that way about all the top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the league, including Mr. Baker Mayfield. We should all be appreciating what we're watching right now. But back to Josh. I believe in his last 11, 12 games, Josh Allen has thrown for 30 touchdowns and 1 interception. And that's not including the touchdowns that he's ran in. I'm just talking about what he's done in the air. Now, cutting down on turnovers and boneheaded mistakes has played a large part in Josh Allen's ascent to an elite quarterback. His ability to hurt you with his feet, his arm, and even his toughness nowadays is truly something to behold. Is this the year that he gets the monkey off his back and actually makes the Super Bowl? Is this the year he gets the monkey off his back and makes the Super Bowl and actually wins the Super Bowl? Because one thing about Josh Allen we can say is that while he is as good as he is, elite quarterback, some say the best quarterback in the league, he still ain't won shit in the playoffs. Not for real. I mean, if you want to talk about AFC conference games that he still has yet to win, ooh, congratulations. But until he wins the big game, how am I supposed to say that Josh Allen is one of the better quarterbacks in the league? You understand what I'm saying? That's all I hear nowadays when it comes to quarterbacks. If you don't win, you ain't no good. So Josh Allen has elevated to media darling, but he ain't got no Super Bowls. So the question I got is, what's really going on? You understand what I'm saying? But back to the game. This game was closer than the score indicated, and truthfully, the Bills were saved by a roughing the punter call, and also when the Dolphins got the ball back, Tua did what Tua does, and he threw an interception. So Tua turned the ball over, gave the game away at the very end, allowed the Bills to tack on a field goal at the end to seal the game, put it out of reach. And my takeaway from this game is that the Bills can play better, and Miami, despite the loss, looked better than they did in week 1 and week 2. So we'll see if the Dolphins can build on this. We'll see how the Bills continue to play and if Josh Allen can finally make it to a Super Bowl and do something. But until then, next up for the Bills will be the Saints. Ooh. The Saints are coming to Buffalo, and the Dolphins will host the Jets on Monday Night Football in a doubleheader that, unfortunately, a lot of us probably just going to skip over. But, hey, at least we got football on Monday. Got 2 shitty games coming up, but, we'll all be watching. It is what it is. When they made the schedule, nobody knew that the Jets were going to be ass and the Dolphins were going to be ass. Hold up. I knew that, but nobody knew that the Bengals was going to lose Joe Burrow. Well, we probably should have had an inclination that might happen. Either way it goes, 2 subpar games coming up on Monday Night Football, but, we're still going to watch. We'll still be there. So it is what it is. But Saints are coming to Buffalo. Dolphins will host the Jets. That's what's happening for those 2 teams coming up in week 4 of the NFL. Now, next game I want to discuss, the Cleveland Browns took on who I believe is the second best team in the NFC. That's right, the Green Bay Packers. And they emerged, well, let me rephrase. The Cleveland Browns emerged 13-10 with a victory over the Packers. And the Browns defense is still an insanely good defense. They held Josh Jacobs to 30 yards rushing on 16 carries, and Jordan Love played the whole game and only threw for 149 yards on 18-25 passing with a touchdown and also an interception late in the game. This was a come-from-behind victory for the Browns as they were behind 10-3 with about 4 minutes left in the game when they intercepted Jordan Love and took one play to convert it to a touchdown and tie the game. On the next Green Bay possession, the Browns blocked the field goal. They blocked the field goal attempt, and then 5 plays later, they kicked the game-winning field goal and send the Packers home with an L. You understand what I'm saying? So Just another weekly reminder that you must play full 60 minutes of the game in the NFL or you will lose. The Packers were in control of this game the entire game until the very end when the Browns defense settled in and won that game for the Browns. So, hey, next up for the Packers. Next up for the Packers, they're going to Dallas. Micah Parsons returns to the Dallas Cowboys. I wonder how good that game will be. Now, the Packers actually got it good going from the Browns defense to the Cowboys defense. They'll probably blow the Cowboys up. As well, they should anyway. We saw what Russell Wilson did to the Cowboys. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure the Cowboys took it on the chin. Who beat the Cowboys? I don't even remember. We'll get to it here in a little bit. But all I know is the Cowboys, their defense is ass, son. Their defense is ass. Probably as bad as Baltimore's defense. But we'll get to them later. But again, the Browns will be in Detroit to face the Lions, and the Packers will take on the Cowboys in Dallas as Micah Parsons returns to the Dallas Cowboy Stadium. Now, another crazy game in another tough division took place between the Chargers and the Broncos as the Chargers rolled to a 23-20 win, and the Chargers now move to 3-0 on the year and assume the driver's seat to first place in the AFC West after the first 3 weeks with wins over the Chiefs and now wins over the Broncos. The Chargers were down 20-13 for a large part of the fourth quarter. They tied it at 20 with 2:37 left in the game. After Denver went 3 and out, the Chargers then drove 43 yards in 8 plays, and Cameron Dicker kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired. With wins over the Broncos and Chiefs under their belts, all that's left for the Chargers to do is to lose to the Raiders to ensure that we will never truly know what exactly is going on in the NFL. Justin Herbert, though. Justin Herbert is making some early MVP noise as he is thrown for 860 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception through the first 3 games. He's also ran for 69 yards through the first 3 games to average 23 yards rushing as well. Next up for the Chargers will be the Giants in New York, and the Broncos will host the downsliding Bengals on that other crappy Monday Night Football game. I expect the Broncos to roll, but then again, you never know. I'll still be watching either way it goes, but man, the Monday Night Football games are garbage this upcoming week. Next game I want to speak on, though, is the Eagles against the Rams. And this game was played in Philadelphia. The Rams jumped out to a 26-7 lead with 14:06 left in the third quarter. And next thing you know, Jalen Hurts remembered that he was a quarterback who knows how to throw the ball, and he began flinging the ball all over the place. And before you knew it, the Eagles were up 27-26 with the Rams lined up to take the game-winning field goal as time would expire. Now, if you follow the NFL like I do, then you already know what happens next. Yep. The Eagles not only blocked the kick, but big man Jordan Davis scooped up the fumble and returned the kick for a touchdown as the Eagles won by a final score of 33-26. Now, Jalen Hurts finally threw a touchdown pass, 3 of them, and he also ran one in for a total of 4 touchdowns on the day. He threw for 226 yards and ran for another 40 yards on 9 carries. In his last 2 games against the Rams, Saquon Barkley had 460 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. I guess the Rams focused so much on Saquon and making sure that Saquon didn't hurt him that they forgot that Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Why Jalen Hurts doesn't get mentioned more in the same breath as Josh Allen is beyond me. Because last I saw, all everybody cared about was winning. Nobody cares about stats. They only care about winning. And Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. He's won 1. He's done more than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson ever have in the playoffs. But at the same time, all we talk about is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And all I ever hear is that Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. But all Jalen Hurts does is win. You know what I'm saying? Last quarterback who all he did was win was Patrick Mahomes. Before Patrick Mahomes, it was Tom Brady. So I don't know why we can't act like Jalen Hurts ain't no good when all that man does is win. But anyway, he may not put up Josh Allen numbers, but he knows how to win. So maybe some folks will speak on it one day. And actually, next week, I will have Eagles superfan Baby J back in the building. So maybe I can get him to speak on it. Maybe we can talk to Jalen Hurts and see what he's got to say about Jalen Hurts. But for now, next up for the Eagles will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. That's probably going to be the game of the week. And the Rams will host the Colts, which truthfully should be another good game as well. Not a game of the week, but close to it because them Colts are on fire. And I'll get to them later. But anyway, next up for the Eagles, Buccaneers in Tampa. Next up for the Rams, Indianapolis Colts. And that game will be in Los Angeles. Now, speaking of the Buccaneers, I got to give some love to my boy Nephew Q's team in Southwest Florida. These boys are playing some good football. Now, they came from behind to beat the Jets 29-27, and their game was saved by what? That's right, a blocked field goal. That was the theme of this week in the NFL was blocked field goals. The Jets were leading 27-26 with 151 left in the game when the Bucs blocked the Jets field goal attempt and gave Baker Mayfield time to work his magic and get the Bucs in the field goal range as Chase McLaughlin did the rest from 36 yards away to seal the victory as the Bucs are now 3-0 on the year. Baker Mayfield is now thrown for 615 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions so far on the season. Baker is another one like Herbert, Justin Herbert that is, who is trying to crack that Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen threshold on that MVP trophy. My takeaway from this game is that the Falcons are looking subpar, the Panthers are the Panthers, and the Saints might be the worst team in the NFL. So the Bucs are without a doubt in the driver's seat in the NFC North. So again, next up for the Buccaneers will be the Eagles as they host the Eagles next week, and the Jets will face the Dolphins, as I mentioned earlier, on Monday Night Football as we will see what happens, on that horrible Monday night. But game of the week in my mind, actually 2 games of the week. One of the games of the week, though, will definitely be the Eagles at Tampa Bay. If you get the opportunity, tune into that game. Should be a good one. Shout out to Nephew Q and your Buccaneers in their 3-0 start. We'll see what they got going for us. Remember, that was one of my sleeper teams this year. Don't sleep on the Bucs. Now, the last game I want to talk about before we run through the rest of week 3, I should say, will be the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Detroit Lions. Now, going into this game, Lamar Jackson was 24-4 against the NFC, and he left this game 24-5 against the NFC. And let me tell you, Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions did not give a shit at all about Lamar Jackson and his spectacular record against the NFC. Sonic and Knuckles, a.k.a. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think I might have said that backwards, but they call themselves Sonic and Knuckles. So, those two, they beat the Ravens into submission with some old school smash mouth football. They ran up and down all over the Ravens. I heard somebody say they ran hard on the Ravens and made the Ravens like it. They made them like it because they beat that ass. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs both had 2 touchdowns apiece. David Montgomery ran for 151 yards, something like that. Jahmyr Gibbs added another 70 yards rushing and probably another 30, 40 yards receiving. The Baltimore defense, I don't know what else to tell you other than that defense is ass. The Baltimore offensive line, I don't know what else to tell you, but that offensive line is ass. And Lamar Jackson still put up good numbers, but I thought he played like shit. He got sacked 7 times. I mean, he almost threw for 300 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, so he put up the numbers. He had a real good passer rating, but I'm sorry, he just didn't look all that good. And a lot of that goes to the defense that the Detroit Lions had to play on the Baltimore Ravens last night. And one thing that Lamar Jackson said in the post-game conference is that they played a spy on him, and that spy did a good job because that's not the first time that Lamar Jackson has seen a spy. But that's the first time a spy has been able to hold Lamar Jackson in check like that, the way that they did. And normally we see stuff like that happen in the playoffs, but it happened in the regular season. The Detroit Lions beat that ass last night, and that's all there is to say about it. There really ain't nothing else left to say. The Detroit Lions, they started off shitty against the Packers in week 1. They had everybody thinking that Ben Johnson might have been, their saving grace and whatnot. But they turned it around last week when they whooped the Bears, and they turned it around again against Baltimore. And I'm sorry, they whooped Baltimore. The final score was 38-30, but Baltimore got a garbage touchdown at the end of the game to make it look prettier than what it was. Make no mistake about it, the Detroit Lions beat that ass. The Ravens got a lot of work to do if they plan to win the Super Bowl. A lot of work to do. So we'll see what happens there. And again, if the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl, I know everybody's going to blame Lamar, but anybody who's watching these Baltimore Ravens know that everything they got going on is not Lamar Jackson's fault. As bad as he played last night, bad as he played last night, he still put up good numbers. So even bad Lamar Jackson is better than your favorite quarterback. Now, next up for the Ravens will be, who they got? The game of the week, Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. Ravens right now are 2.5-point favorite. I don't know about that one. But the Lions, they'll be hosting the Browns next week. So that's what you got going for you next up with the Ravens and the Lions. Now, let's take a look at this NFL schedule from last week. Let's run through these games real quick and see what kind of quick recall thoughts I might have on some of the games that were played last week. Well, on the remaining games that were played last week, I should say. So let me pull that up real quick. Week 3, Dolphins and Bills, we covered it. Vikings and Bengals. I really don't know what else to say about this game. I thought the Bengals would be better, a little bit more competitive. I'm not saying they've given up on the season already because Joe Burrow ain't there, but I expected much better from them against the Vikings. 48-10, that's pretty embarrassing. Y'all got whipped by Carson Wentz. You know what? I ain't even going to say nothing else. Steelers and Patriots. I thought the Patriots might win this game. They had a chance to win this game. You know, I thought they would protect home field. I even had a nice little money line bet on the Patriots, even parlayed them with the Colts parlayed them with my jewel of the week. And it didn't pan out. You know, it's just the way it goes sometimes. But I thought the Patriots would play better this game, and they didn't. So I'm interested to see what happens when Pittsburgh plays a real team. They have yet to play a real team. I know that time is coming up. I'm not sure who they play next week off the top of my head, but I'm really interested to see what they look like when they play a real team. And that's all I really got to say about the Steelers. But good win. Good win. You beat the Patriots. Patriots, you're going to have to be better. I don't know. I thought they'd be better. Colts and Titans. How about them Colts? Colts won 41-20. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this game because I'm going to talk about the Colts in my next segment, the Jason's Jewel of the Week. So, but Indiana Jones is looking good. Jonathan Taylor is looking good. The Colts are sitting at 3-0 right now. And man, let me tell you, they got that look about them. They got a different look. And when I say they got that look, I don't mean they got that Super Bowl look. I just mean they got that look like they're a good team and they know what they're doing and they're doing it on purpose. So that's always a good thing to see. And I'm very interested to see how the Colts can do because much like Tampa Bay, they're in a pretty easy division. You know, you got the Colts, you got the Titans, you got the Jaguars, you got the Texans. And Texans are booty right now. Jaguars have always been booty. And the Titans, well, they're booty right now too, as you can see. So the Colts really got no excuse right now the way they're playing. Barring a catastrophe injury to somebody, they should win this division. They're off to a good start. I'm interested to see how they're going to go. And again, they got the Rams coming up this week. Should be a good game, a good gauge to see where the Colts are at now that they're not playing these booty teams no more. And that's not including that win over the Broncos because I think the Broncos are a pretty decent team. So I shouldn't say they've been beating up on booty teams, but the Rams will probably give them a much different challenge that they've had so far this year. And I'm interested to see how they respond. But again, shout out to the Colts, Indiana Jones. We see y'all. Texans and Jaguars. Jaguars won 17-10. Panthers at Falcons. Now, the Panthers won this game 30-0. And I'm okay with that. But the Falcons got to be better. And I don't know what they're going to do with Michael Penix. It's not gotten off to the greatest start this year. I'm not saying they should give up on him, but if you still paying Kirk Cousins all that money, it's not going to hurt to take a look and see what Kirk Cousins can do. I mean, at this point, what's it going to hurt? It's Michael Penix is not producing. So throw Kirk Cousins in there, give Penix a little bit more clipboard time. Maybe they can advance and progress a little bit better. You got Bijan Robinson. Y'all should be much better than what you are, period. And y'all shouldn't be losing to the Panthers 30-0. Y'all ain't that bad. Are you? Oh, well. Let's see. Commanders at Raiders, 41-24. The Commanders defeated the Raiders in that game. Jaden Daniels did not play in that game. Marcus Mariota played in that game. Kind of a revenge game for him. Geno Smith looked a little bit better than he did the previous week, but Raiders still took one on the chin. Commanders, though, hey, good to see y'all get a win without Jaden Daniels. It's unknown when he will return. He might return this week, might be the week after that. Either way it goes, picked up a win with Marcus Mariota. Might do some good to let Jane Daniels rest up a little bit more and play Mariota if you can. But for now, Commanders defeated the Raiders 41-24. Saints Saints at the Seahawks. I was going to say the Saints over the Seahawks. The Saints are bad, people. They're really bad. The Seahawks won 44-13, and well, Seahawks are looking good. If I'm not mistaken, Seahawks are another undefeated team. No, 2-1. That's my bad. 2-1. But the Seahawks will face the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. Should be a good game. Got a lot of good games coming up this week now I think about it. Well, I say a lot. Seahawks at the Cardinals should be a good game. I mentioned the Ravens and the Ravens at the Chiefs, which I think is the game of the week. And then I mentioned the Eagles at the Buccaneers, which is also game of the week material as well. So those three games definitely off the top of my head. Colts and Rams be another good game as well. And truthfully, if the Browns can play defense on the road the way they play defense at home, that Browns-Lions game might be all right as well. But we shall see. It's neither here nor there. Seahawks defeated the Saints 44-13. That's where I was. Next up, 49ers defeated the Arizona Cardinals 16-15. And, well, I'm not sure what to think about the 49ers. They won this game without Brock Purdy. Mac Jones has won the last two games for the 49ers. 49ers are now sitting at 3-0, which is actually kind of surprising to, when you think of the injuries they've been dealing with. They have yet to remain healthy. So maybe I have to get my boy Jeff Jefferson on here so we can talk some 49ers and get his insights on what he thinks the 49ers might do. Because 3-0 for the 49ers is a pretty good start. I ain't going to front for where they're at. And if they can manage to find themselves getting healthy at the right time, they probably will be a problem. They probably will be a problem. So keep an eye on the 49ers. Chiefs at Giants, 22-9. Chiefs won. Another boring game. Another one we can have. Hey, whenever y'all want to have that Patrick Mahomes conversation, you holler at your boy and let your boy know. Because when y'all want to have that Patrick Mahomes conversation, I will be right here waiting. That man ain't no good no more. Well, I say that. He's probably going to go beat the shit out the Ravens on Sunday. But y'all get my point. He don't look good. He ain't look good. He ain't look good for 2 years. He didn't look good when they won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl on the strength of their defense, and the defense has been carrying them for the last 2 years. Patrick Mahomes was missing wide open receivers the other day. You understand what I'm saying? He ain't looking good, period. But the Chiefs finally got a victory. They beat the Giants 22-9. They moved to 1-2 on the year, and they will face the 1-2 Ravens on Sunday. It's funny as hell. Game of the week between two 1-2 teams. Funny as hell. And that'll do it for all the games that took place in the NFL this past Sunday. That's kind of brings us to the end of the show for this week. You understand what I'm saying? I briefly touched on some college football, spoke on NASCAR a little bit, talked about my fantasy football team I know y'all don't care about, and then I broke down a nice little recap for the NFL. So coming up next, not on this episode, but be sure to tune in to Jason's Jewel of the Week. If you're not tuned in to Jason's Jewel of the Week, you are missing out. I'm telling you, you are missing out. But for now, I'm going to head on out. I'm going to end this episode of Jason's Jewels. Y'all be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Jason's Jewels channel on YouTube. And while we're at it, do not forget to tune into the Clearly Confused podcast coming at you every Monday with my boy Deuce Speaks as the host. I am your co-host, the Clearly Confused podcast, another channel on YouTube you need to tune into. So it's Jason Jules, the Jason's Jules channel on YouTube, and the Clearly Confused podcast channel on YouTube. Be sure to tune in, like, share, and subscribe to both them bad boys, because I'm telling you, I'm here and I ain't going nowhere. So you might as well tune in and see what I got to say. But for now, that's all I got. Thank you for tuning in. Nothing but love. Peace.